And we're at the speed down to 2,500.
Good point. Wherever you reduce speed to 180.
Blackbox.
All right, hey folks. Jordan tells me we're recording. Recording. Is that how you say that? Hey, welcome to the show. That was awkward. Kenny Porter here with my good friend Blake and my new friend Kellen, who we'll introduce in just a few minutes. But thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk with Kellen, who's a business owner here in our community in Hampton Roads, and also in law enforcement. And so we're going to talk with Kellen today about his journey as a businessman. And we're going to have some fun with that. But, before we get going on the podcast and having a conversation with Kellen, one of the things we like to do starting out each show, Kellen, is, honor you guys and honor those members of our military. And we usually like to take a little shot of Johnny Walker, and you told us off camera you were ready to do that, even though you had life experience that maybe turned you against the spirits for a little while.
A little bit.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a little toast today to our troops and to our military, those that are still serving and those that have served and given it all. We salute you. Cheers. Whew. It also loosens the vocal cords. And I'm going to try to talk as little as possible today, Blake, because I just sound like shiznit.
Take care.
So I apologize to all the audience for my sultry, raspy.
It already sounds like it's helping out.
It does. Oh, I need all the help I can get. So Blake, why don't you introduce officially Kellen to the group here today?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, so a special guest today is Kellen Walters. He's been an officer for a little over a decade, spent time in a K-9 unit, and is also the founder, owner, and operator of WildSouth Apparel. Kellen, excited to have you, man. Hey, so Kellen, while we got you here, I'd like to first off give a little background of your law enforcement days, kind of how you got there, and then I want to dive into your mindset of you tackling the hurdle of starting a company from the ground up, things you've kind of ran into along the way, things you've learned, and the future for you, WildSouth.
Yeah, so I kind of always knew that I wanted to be in some kind of law enforcement federal. I initially put all my eggs in one basket, went to college, graduated college back in 2009, and it was my senior year. I put in an application with the Border Patrol. It was about a 2-year process at that time. So I graduated college, ended up waiting tables because I was waiting to hear back from the feds. Anyone that's
It's a slow process, right?
It's unreal, and anyone that knows anything about the Fed process is you'll get an email saying, hey, you passed your medical, and then they'll ghost you for about 5-6 months. And they'll be like, come do the next step. And once you go to that, so all in all, it was about 2 years. All my friends got out of college. They're all getting good jobs, and here I am just waiting tables. And it's kind of starting to eat at me. Come to find out, I got denied the Border Patrol job. Back in the 08-09 time, it was huge on veteran preference. Yeah, I had a college degree, but I had no experience. A lot of these vets were getting the job. So now I'm sitting there waiting tables like, what do I do? So I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. So I actually got a job. I waited on one table, and they ended up hiring me as a sales position.
The people you were
The
waiting.
people I was waiting on,
yeah.
I actually sold them a bottle of wine. I upsold them, and the guy was like, hey, I really like how you did that. Would you want to come work for us? And it was a company kind of like Monster or Indeed. It was called snagajob.com.
Okay.
So I worked with Snagajob, and I just wanted to beat my face into a cubicle. And that was at that point, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to make it in corporate America. So I started applying to police jobs all over Virginia. I think I applied to like 16 or 17 jobs and was just getting denied because at that time, shockingly, everybody wanted to be a cop. So I applied to Norfolk, and Norfolk was the fastest process I've ever been through. And they called me up and was like, hey, we know you're in Richmond, but you got 2 weeks to get down here, start. I was like, this is what I want to do, so let's go. Did it. Here we are a decade later.
Well, if I can interrupt that thought process and take you back to something that I always like to hone in on is these experiences we have with people, like the way Blake and I met. It was on a commercial shoot in my house. We didn't know each other prior to I think it was before Christmas when they shot that, right? And we found, we were just talking about this the other day, that we found we had a kind of a kindred spirit, and that it was easy to talk to each other and easy to get to know each other really fast. And it was like, man, why don't you come on the show and let's revigorate what we're doing here in KP's Blackbox. But that was a moment. It was a passing of two people.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to that restaurant.
Yeah.
You're at this table, you're talking to these folks, you upsell them a bottle of wine.
Right.
But you transition from, crap, this thing I thought I wanted with the Border Patrol
Yeah.
didn't pan out or didn't happen the way you wanted it to. And you get thrown a curveball that you probably don't see coming.
Yeah.
When you took that job, I mean, was it desperation? Was it, I got to have a job, I'm a college graduate now? What was going through your head?
I don't think I would call it desperation. Maybe at that time, seeing all my friends being out there with with jobs after college, and I'm sitting here waiting tables. I actually remember one of my friends from high school, his parents came in and ate, and I happened to wait on him, and it was that dreaded question of, hey, what are you doing now? You graduated college. Well, you're looking at what I'm doing. And I don't know if that kind of hit home to me, like, do you want to do this forever? Like, it's hard to explain to someone, hey, look, I'm trying to do this, and they might believe you, or they might be like, yeah, I'm sure you are. That's why you're sitting here waiting tables. Like, no, guys, like with the federal system, it takes forever. And that's where I made the first mistake of putting everything into that one job opportunity. So when the opportunity came up for this next job, I still knew in my head, I don't want to do sales. I don't want to wait tables. I want to be a cop. I want to be a federal agent. I want to be something in that nature and in that field. So when this job came up, I was like, anything to get me out of here. It gets me a real job, if you would.
Yeah.
I guess kind of gives me some kind of status. So I knew in my head, yeah, I'm going to go here until I get the job. I'm not telling them that, but I took that job, and I'm glad I did, because it solidified for me that I will never make it in corporate America working for someone else. Just miserable. I mean, it was cold calling every day. The morale just sucked because nobody was making sales, and it's like, this isn't me, and this isn't what I want to do. But I'm glad I took that because of that reason. Yeah,
it's an experience that you need in the business world. I would say probably, if you're not making sales, aka rejection.
Yeah.
You need intestinal fortitude. Wouldn't you agree? To be a business owner.
Absolutely.
I mean, it takes intestinal fortitude to be cops and to be in the special forces community, or to do anything that requires some intestinal fortitude. And business, I think, is one of those areas that if you want to be a business owner, be prepared to fail often early.
And I mean, I'm not a real religious person, but maybe this was God's plan. Hey, let's put you in this waiting job where you have to talk to people. You're forced no matter what.
Yeah.
Let's put you in the sales job where you have to cold call people every day that literally want to bash their phone and beat you with it, because you start the line with, hi, my name's Kellen with so-and-so, click. And we had to hit a minimum of sales calls every single day. So I'm forced to talk to people.
Yeah.
And they were looking at our call times. Hey, we want your call time to go up on average. They want at least 60 seconds. So I'm sitting there just having to spew whatever I can at these people. It's very uncomfortable, but you get better at that.
Yeah.
So, and then becoming a cop, now you're forced to talk to people even more. So it's all, kind of piggybacked off of one another. And it's prepared me now, being a business owner. Being in business is all about networking. And if you cannot talk to people, you're going to have a real tough time.
We were talking off camera, and Blake, you and I have actually had this discussion as well. You went to Radford.
Yep.
Do they have a mascot? I don't even know.
Yeah, the Highlanders.
The Highlanders? That was a cheap shot. I'm sorry. So, and they've got some great sports teams at Radford, too.
Still undefeated in football.
Still undefeated in football. Exactly right. Okay, I'll stop busting your balls on that. So at Radford, we were having this conversation off camera, and, before we get into Wild Apparel, or WildSouth Apparel.
More cheap shots.
No cheap. Just punch me, man.
Just put the bat down.
Put the cuffs on me. Tell me about your school experience, because you were saying off camera, man, and we have a very similar belief, but I always want to go back and challenge my own beliefs about things like education. Right now, my view on education is not very high as it relates to kind of the liberal arts world. You know, if you're going to get an MD,
Yeah. I mean,
different. But tell us
in-
about your experience.
you know, so I'm 36. Back in my parents' days, you know, going to college was a pretty big thing to do. You know, in the
Right.
80s and 90s, you had to come out with a college degree to work any kind of job or any kind of decent job. But nowadays, even when I went, it was still kind of a norm in society for you to go to college. But now, looking back on it, I paid $80,000 to work a job where kids had a high school GED.
What was your undergrad in?
So I had a bachelor's in I'm told very part criminal justice, and then I had minor in sociology
Okay.
and psychology, and got out of that, and then transitioning into business. Well, let me go back. When I went to the police academy, that 6 months summed up my 4 years of college, and it was at that point I was like, I literally just, I don't want to say wasted, because I had a great time in college, made a lot of great friends, but
Yeah.
the police academy summed up my college experience, and I just realized now I still have all this debt to pay off, and being a cop, we don't make shit. So
Yeah.
I'm living above my means in Virginia Beach. I had to, so I was actually losing money where I was living because it was more money than I could afford to pay the rent there. But now, even more getting into business, I don't know the first thing about business. You know, I took one business ethics class, and I think I got a D in it. I had a D/C average in all my prereqs and general ed, but in my major categories, it was A's and B's across the board because that's stuff I was actually interested in.
Yeah.
I just didn't give a shit.
wanted to
about,
study.
Dude, I didn't care about geology. I didn't care about psychology. I didn't care about biology. I went in there. Here I am. I'll take the test. Statistics. Didn't give a shit. So got out and managed to, you know, graduate with, I think, a B average. But now, looking back, you don't need a college degree nowadays.
So if you were made a chancellor of a university today, and you're in charge of curriculum, you're in charge of how young people, maybe a young person says, you know, I think I want to be in the criminal justice field.
Yeah.
If you were looking back at 18, 19-year-old you, and you're the chancellor now, what would you have done different?
Not gone to college.
Really?
Hands down, would not. Looking back, if I could totally redo my entire career, I would join the military at 18 years old. The training and experience and education those guys get, that's hands down better than college, because you're going through an 8-week or 12-week boot camp, whatever it is, whatever your specialty is, and you're immediately getting thrown into the field where you're going to learn. It's sink or swim.
What do you think was the big factor that drove that mindset to go, man, if I could have done this over, I would have went military? And by the way, I've got 2 sons that serve.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation. And the first, I don't want to bust on my son Noah, but when he went to school, he was kind of doing what you did. He was like, I don't really want to be here. My parents are saying go to college. All of my friends are going to these great schools. So you have this peer pressure that you must need to go to college to be successful. And what I'm hearing from you is that you need the experience to be successful. You need to be in the trenches. You need to understand. And we were talking about this off camera that, you know, my associate Noah over here behind the camera has mentioned this a few times, that the experience that he's gained by working here in my firm in the financial business has really prepared him to be more interested in the business classes he's taking now.
Yeah.
That he's looking at the young students that he's competing with, and they're kind of lost because they don't have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
So in the education system, if we were thinking about it globally, would you think that if there was a change made where maybe we treat it like the Israeli army, where everybody who's a citizen serves? What do you think about that thought process?
I don't think it would be a bad thing necessarily. I mean, I don't think everyone's cut out for the military.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is because being in law enforcement, I've seen a lot of people come through, and some of the people that we work with, they don't want to be there and they don't need to be there. So having a mandated thing like that, I don't think that would really.
It's great that we have 100% volunteers still.
Yeah, I mean,
you pick your poison.
Yeah. And, for the people that can't afford to go to college, I think you're getting, like I said, a better education depending on what you want to do. If you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a lawyer, an aeronautical engineer, something along those lines, you need a college education.
It reminds me, have you guys seen the Instagram post? It's kind of a spoof on Army recruiters. And the Army recruiter's got a cup of coffee and he's shaking like this because he's standing outside of Walmart. And Walmart's now paying kids to go to college. So if you come work for them, they'll pay for your college education.
Yeah.
The Army recruiter's like, join the Army, we'll pay for your education. How am I going to get these kids? How am I going to meet my recruiting goals now?
I mean, you can't. I guess just going down the path that I've gone down but I think that's going to be with anyone that's grown older and wiser. You're going to look at things way differently and say, I would have done this different or I would have done this different. I think the reason I went to college is I grew up, middle class, middle upper class area. So all my friends are going to college. They all knew I wanted to be a cop or federal agent. But I think I went to college because of that. Like my parents didn't peer pressure me into going. They were like, look, do what you want to do. But it wasn't even a second thought because the area that we grew up in, you went to high school, you went to college, you got out, you got a job.
Right.
And that's why I took that route. And I'll never forget, in my first criminal justice class, the professor comes in and he was like, look, I was an Ocean City cop in Maryland for 20 years and now I'm teaching college. He was like, if you want to make any kind of money, leave this classroom right now because you will never make it in law enforcement.
Interesting.
That's, the first thing right off the bat. He was like, it's going to be a rude awakening, guys, but I'm telling you, you're not going to make any kind of money in law enforcement. So if you're in it for the money, get out. If you're in it because you actually want to do it, and back then I wanted to do it because it sounded fun. I'm super ADHD. I was beating my face against a cubicle in here. I'd rather go out, do the cool, sexy stuff. You get to arrest people, you get to chase people. Work a dog, whatever it is. There's so many opportunities in the police department that you can do, and it's fun.
So now we'll get to the point, some of the things that Blake was bringing up. When you kind of fast forward that through where you are today, and those decisions that you made back then can undo.
Yeah.
And you embrace the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Where did that transition happen for you where you went, I want to go from law enforcement to try my hand at this business thing? How did that morph from criminal justice to business?
I think it was just a combination of things that had happened throughout my life. Most people, being a cop, you get to see the worst of the worst, and people will complain about their job sucks, or they're having boyfriend or girlfriend problems, or who knows what. But being a cop, you get to see the lowest of the low, and it opens your eyes a whole lot, especially from where I came from and grew up. Now I'm in the inner cities. I get to see the projects. It's like my life's not that bad, and my dad died when I was 25 years old. And so him dying, and then in 2014, a buddy of mine was shot and killed in the city of Norfolk. So being there and actually seeing that firsthand, I guess it kind of got the wheels starting turning. It's like literally nothing is guaranteed. Yeah. And the weird thing about when Brian was shot and killed, 2 hours before that happened, he was sitting there. We're in the roll call room, and he was talking about he just bought a camper, can't wait to go camping with his family. He was a good old country boy. Couldn't wait to do this, couldn't wait to do that, and then literally 2 hours later, he's dead.
Oh, man.
And it's just like that. So I think between my dad and him, and when society in America is sitting here telling you how to do your job and they've never done a lick of it, and we're getting hammered, and that's when I started looking at people. I'm like, then go out and do what you want to do. Yeah. And by me starting to tell people that, it's like, why the hell am I sitting here? Yeah. Like, I want to go out and do what I want to do. I'm tired of working for people, and I want to go out and I want to be happy. I'm only 36. I'm not old, so it's not too late to start over.
Yeah, you're young, dude.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to 52, you're like, man, 36 looks really nice. Handsome fellas like you guys in the gym, all buff, and Noah's telling you got 8 packs, Blake.
Yeah, Noah's ultimate hype man. Thanks, Noah.
So, Blake, you and I were talking the other day, and there was a very sad incident that happened over the weekend. And, I don't want to sound like a sappy dude here, but civility in our society really, if you kind of coincide things that's happened in the racial tension in the U.S., and I know we're going to talk Wild South, I promise. Okay. But I think it will segue to, some of the things I'm hearing from you. But you can be wild at heart. You can be just, hey, I want to go for it. I want to, as men, the way we're wired as human beings, we want to forge, right? We want to go try to tackle the world. But within that, we got to have some civility too. You got to know when to reel it in a little bit. And something that's happening in society right now that I'm seeing is there's no civility or little civility in the community. I mean, if that incident really happened over someone spilling a drink on another person, we got a lot of work to do to think about our civility as a nation. And, I think that's maybe some of the things in law enforcement that's true too, that, when you're out on the street every day and you're dealing with people who are just pissed off, things aren't going their way, life sucks for them, and here you come to, slap a pair of handcuffs on them and, try to get them to bring it back a notch.
Yeah.
Before that ever happens, before the gunshot ever takes place, there's a book, and we need to put this one up, that's written by Jack Welch. Remember, he used to be the CEO of GE. Well, his wife wrote a book that I actually shared with my boys over the years. You guys look it up for me, Mrs. Welch. So his wife wrote this book called 10-10-10. And basically what she was getting you to think about was 10-second decisions have an impact on the rest of your life. And I'm taking you back to the restaurant now.
Yeah.
A 10-second decision there where you upsold a business owner a bottle of wine, and you did it in a way that compelled him to want to engage you. Like, man, if you can upsell me, if you can get me to buy a more expensive bottle of wine than what I was planning, then that 10-second impact, we could probably tie that into where you are today. And I think that's where you were headed earlier.
Yeah.
And if a person can think about something like, man, you spill a drink on someone, instead of that 10-second decision being, I'm going to come over there and beat your ass, or I'm going to pull out my gun because how dare you, take a step back, try to get outside of yourself for a moment and go, this 10-second decision is going to have a 10-minute impact. It's going to have a 1-year impact. It's going to have a 10-year impact. And it's going to have a lifetime impact. So when I come back and I go, if it's really that crucial, everything that I do is that crucial, we need to stop and give pause to these decisions that we make in the first 10 seconds of a decision. And we talked about Chris Voss in his book, how never split the difference, and that there's multiple negotiations that take place with individuals every day, and how we negotiate that. And, negotiation sometimes requires empathy. So where I'm really trying to go with this is that whether you're in business or whether you're in law enforcement, the way we treat people will have an impact not only in the first 10 seconds, but over our lifetime, and it will have an effect long term. And that's what I'm seeing and hearing from you. If I've got this wrong, please stop me and tell me. But I think what you were alluding to in the first 10 minutes of the podcast was an impact inside a restaurant, waiting tables, where you were just like, man, I just wasted all my time on this degree. And what I thought I wanted to do, the trajectory of where I was going with the Border Patrol, is now screwed up. And you were probably feeling pretty shitty about that.
Yeah.
To have one person say, you know what, Kellen, I believe in you. I believe that you have the talent to do something greater than what you're doing now. Will you come with my team? That's huge, folks, because that trajectory change of someone saying, what you did was really good.
Yeah.
what you did was awesome. I want you to come work with me. Now all of a sudden, that education, you're like, you know what? Maybe that education did pay off. I may not be doing the
What I
thing,
learned,
right? But it put me in a position of where I can be better now. All that goes back to is that kind of that intestinal fortitude in my mind. I'm spitballing with you guys. So what do you think?
No, I think you're definitely onto something. I think kind of sum up what I believe you're trying to say, that moment is the compounding effect, right? The catalyst.
Yeah.
That you couldn't see it then, but working in the restaurant, upselling the wine, getting exposed to a job you're not comfortable in, familiar with, or even enjoying, led you to join the police department, grow in the police department, and ultimately is what got your wheels spinning to say, hey, this is not enough for me. I'm ready for the next step. And you're launching your dream, which is WildSouth Apparel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to cap that off, well, and again, if I'm wrong, Kellen, please tell me. But I think that mindset then was, you know what, I'm going to be the best waiter I can be in this moment.
Yeah.
And whether you knew that as the young Kellen or not, but you're like, hey, my job is to give this person an experience and to serve them in a moment in the best capacity I know how to do.
Yeah.
And that meant something to the other person to the extent that they gave you a job over one encounter. And I think that the lesson we can pull from that today, I think the lesson the audience can pull from that is wherever you're at in that moment, just do your damn best.
Well, piggybacking off of that, growing up, my family was pretty well off, but my dad, we didn't have the best relationship or the closest relationship. He was a consultant, so he was always traveling all over the country, and he was only home on the weekends. But when I turned 15, he made me get a job. Wow. So I had to go to my guidance counselor, had to have good enough grades, and she would sign off that you could go to the work program, so you could go work after school. So at 15, he was like, you're getting a job. So I've been working ever since 15, so the past 20, 21 years now. And I think because he did well for himself, maybe he was trying to set me up. Hey, you're going to learn the same work ethic that I had, because his family wasn't rich growing up. I'd say he's probably lower middle class growing up. So he had that work ethic instilled in him. He was like, I'm going to do the same thing for my son. So I started when I was 15, and he was always like, look, you might not always like your job, but do it.
Yeah.
Do it to your best.
Yeah.
So, and I think that kind of stuck with me. And so that's where I've gotten to the point now. It's like I've always tried at each job that I had. I didn't always love every one of them, but I wasn't a shitty worker by any means. So I would do it, and then if I didn't like it, I'll find something else. But instilling a good work ethic in people young, I think helps out a whole bunch, because a lot of these kids that are growing up, the kids that have been babied their entire life, never really told no. They have, the affluenza. They don't know right from wrong. When they graduate college and they're like, oh, well, I'm entitled to a job. No, the fuck you're not. Like, you have a college degree. I will take a kid who grew up harder. When we end up growing and expanding, having employees, I'll take a kid that had a harder life growing up, had to make his way through middle school, high school, probably didn't go to college. That kid has got a much harder work ethic. I don't know, such a hard time saying that. Work ethic.
Big word.
Than a kid who, went to college 4 years, never really had a job in high school because mom and dad, I'll take that kid all day long, because they are going to bust their ass. They're going to do a good job. They're all about learning on the job. Whereas the kid who never really had that experience, they might go into a job, and if someone tells them, hey, look, man, you're not doing that right. Well, I think I'm doing it right. Well, you're not. And if you can't be like, okay, show me how to do it better. Help me out here. Help me grow. Help me learn how to do this.
So I'll take the other side of that, just in friendly debate here.
Yeah.
What do you say to the young college student who goes, hey, Kellen, man, I busted my ass for 4 years to get this education, and I set a goal for something that I finished, where a lot of kids drop out. So if I was in an interview and you said that, and I'm just playing the devil's advocate with you just to help the audience see, and I want to come work for WildSouth.
Yeah.
And I go, Kellen, look, I've got a marketing degree, and I think I can help you get your company from where you are now to where you want to be.
Yep.
And I may not be the smartest guy, but I'm a finisher. I will finish what I started. And that's what I do respect for young people. So this is Kenny talking about what I do respect for young people I respect that you finished your education.
Yeah.
You didn't have to. I'm sure there were many times you were ready to quit.
Well, and I'm not.
So
and I'm
when
not,
you interview that person, what do you say to them who would challenge that?
And I'm not dogging the whole education thing. Like there are times and places. I just think the way the society is evolving, that the whole college thing is kind of going to the wayside.
Yeah.
But in a situation like that, I'll give everyone a shot. I'm very open. I'm very easy to work with, and I'm all about helping people. So take someone that grew up really tough life. Family never went to college. Sisters, brothers never went to college. They're the first one to ever make it to the family. Dude, awesome. Like, you were the first one to make it out of your family. You're actually doing something. That's a huge accomplishment, especially when you don't have the backing. Because typically kids that grow up in that kind of environment, parents aren't really in on their life. It's them probably taking care of their brothers and sisters. It's them funding themselves all the way through college. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'll absolutely give anyone a shot. Just from what I've seen, some of the hardest workers have been ones that have had that tough road. And a lot of times people like that can't go to college because they are taking care of their siblings. But, it's...
And they probably feel like they have a little bit of something to prove because the other person's already proved that, hey, I did the thing. I finished college.
And I'm more of a show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
So, sure, you got this college degree. Awesome.
Yeah.
Show me what you can do with it.
Yeah.
So I'll bring you in, but if you're not cutting it, then sorry. But if you're doing awesome, then good.
So in Wild South now, you tell us about the where that morphed, and I think that's one of the things Blake wants to hear from you. Is how did that come about?
So back in it was 2020, so it was right when COVID hit. I had the incident in the police department, left a real bad taste in my mouth, and it was at that point I was like, I'm done. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So my wife, Jen, she's the co-owner of WildSouth.
Hi, Jen.
She's in the military, so she's an operating room nurse, and she actually got put on the Comfort. It's the hospital ship that got deployed up to New York City. When COVID first hit. So she went up there. So I'm just sitting back at home, alone. Everybody's quarantined. There's literally nothing to do. You go to work, you come home. Go to work, come home. So I started teetering with the idea. I was like, me and her both equally love fitness, and we love dogs. Like, that's hands down what we love to do. We have 4 dogs at home. Both work out religiously. So I was like, but me, I want to start a clothing business. We're both blue collar workers. We don't make a lot of money. And a lot of these clothing companies out there now, they're charging just astronomical prices for whether it's a pair of leggings, joggers, shorts. I was like, our salary doesn't fit that. Sure, I can go buy one of those, but it's going to eat in to what I budgeted myself for. And it sucks being like that. So we wanted to make a product that was affordable to people, teachers, firefighters, first responders, anyone that doesn't make a whole lot of money, but it's still the same quality. So I was thinking, how can I do that? And I didn't mention any of this to her while she was deployed. She actually came home in April, still didn't mention anything to her. I don't think it was till probably September that I brought it up for the first time. And I won't bring up a lot of my ideas. My head is constantly going. Growing up, I had ADHD as a kid. So I'm constantly on the move and thinking about different things. So finally I brought it up. I was like, hey, I'm starting this clothing company. And she was kind of like, oh, cool. Like, what are you doing with it? I was like, well, this is kind of the idea is, do you want to run the women's side of it? I'm not really good at designing women's clothes. I don't know how they fit. I don't know anything like that. Right. So I'll figure out a way if you don't want to do it, but don't feel like you're obligated to help me. And mind you, we've been dating for 2 years at this time. So we knew each other, but we didn't know each other real well. And she's probably sitting here like, who's this guy? He wants to dive all in on business. She was like, yeah, I'm all about it. And I was like,
wow.
But before we start this, we're getting out of debt. Both of us were in debt. It wasn't horrible debt, but it was enough debt to be knowing that starting a new business, you gotta put in a good amount of money. And I didn't want to go into the new business with debt and or old debt.
Interesting. Okay.
So
just because of that mindset of you didn't want that extra albatross around your neck, like you already know you're going to be making an investment, and there's no return on that capital, no return on that investment. So that getting rid of that debt first was one of the goals in order to be in business.
Yes, I did a lot of research, listened to a lot of podcasts, got as much information as I could, and there was a lot of planning that went into this company. We planned for a full year before we really launched.
Wow.
It's because I knew I wanted to go in here and I wanted to have a solution to any problem that arose. the whole debt thing, I was roughly around $30,000 in debt just with credit cards, vehicle loans. I had a 2015 Silverado. I sold that 2015 Silverado and bought a little beater. I think it's a 09 GMC Canyon. Got rid of that. Dave Ramsey, if anyone's out there looking to get out of debt, he is probably the most honest and forthcoming guy when it comes to getting out of debt. It's not one of these get out of debt quick.
Yeah.
It's this is how you get out of debt. It sucks, but it works.
Right.
And it really does. And in that, it kind of plays on top of the goal setting, because in there it's called the baby steps. But let's say you've got 2 credit cards and a car loan. One credit card's got $2,000 on it. One credit card's got $10,000 on it. And then your car loan, you have $15,000.
Yep.
Most people are going to be like, let's get the $15,000 card paid off the quickest. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
And the science and psychology behind it is set a small goal. Pay that. Pay the minimums on the other 2, but pay that $2,000 one off first. Reason being is once that $2,000 credit card paid off, that's a win.
Yep.
You're excited about it.
$30,000 is a big elephant.
Yeah.
Right.
So
the little bites matter.
Right. And if you shoot super high, I'm not saying don't set goals. Set a really high goal for yourself, but also the steps to get there, make those small steps.
Yeah.
So you start off with, let me get this $2,000 credit card knocked off. As soon as you do, it feels great. It's like, wow, that debt's gone. Now you can take the payments you're making on that one, put it on the next credit card, which snowballs. That one gets paid off fast. That $5,000 one, gone. That's another win. Small wins is what's going to keep the motivation going.
Yeah.
You try and knock that $15,000 one out of the park, it's not coming off for 1 or 2 years. You're going to get burned out. You're going to get tired. And you're like, you know what, screw this.
Yeah.
I'll just live in debt.
We should bring Dave Ramsey on the next show.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Bring him. That man, he'll have you recycling toothpaste to save money. That man, you can go with his program. Yeah. Y'all ain't never eating out again.
You know, I'm been in the financial business. Dave Ramsey, there's a love-hate relationship that I have with him. And some of it, in complete honesty, is jealousy, right? You know, I do a lot of work in Nashville, and I drive past Ramsey Solutions, I think on Interstate 840, all the time, and I'm going, dang, this guy built this empire from helping people get out of debt.
And it's nothing crazy either. It's literally.
It's a very simple process.
Yes.
And he morphed that into the things that drive me a little crazy is, you know, the term insurance and the 12% return you're going to get on mutual funds. 12, and again, I don't want to make it about that today, but that's why I start scratching my head and going, Dave, how do I get 12 again?
Yeah.
And I'm in the business. So, Dave, if you're listening, help me understand that.
Email us.
Yeah, email us. You had some thoughts you wanted to ask.
Kellen, I just want to make sure we're getting it out there for the viewers, especially for anyone that wants to know, hey, look, there's a ton of clothing companies, okay? Let's be real. Every day there's another T-shirt company that starts. I think even where we work, there's 3 different companies that are selling T-shirts right now. Yeah. But yours stands out for a reason. And I think the purpose behind that goes to your slogan, right? Which is what's your why, right? Can you dive into that? Let us know, what is the meaning behind the brand? Because it's more than just great quality T-shirts. There's actually a movement that you're starting.
Yeah, it's part of the research I was doing. You know, anyone can go out and start a clothing brand. A lot of the clothes are going to be the exact same. It's going to be the exact same quality. People aren't buying your clothes because of what they're made of. They're essentially buying a brand and a culture. Sure, you might come up with a cool design. People are like, I like that design, buy that shirt. But you're trying to create a community.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've been lucky at throughout my career is working with dogs, and especially canines, working dogs, and watching the drives of these dogs. And anyone that's gotten the chance to watch one work, how relentless these dogs are, it's absolutely incredible. And I think if people could just have an eighth of the drives or the loyalty of these incredible animals, society would just be so much better, and work ethic would be so much better. Like, you'll see a working dog, they're going up against this massive marshmallow looking man in a suit. And, you know, dogs like this big, Marshmallow Man's this big, and they'll go up and they'll hit the hell out of that thing. And I've seen dogs go up, hit them, fall off, they get right back up and they hit them again. Look at America. Most time people, they'll go up and hit it, fall off, and they're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah.
I'm done. I mean, look at diets and weight loss. They don't see results in 1 week. I'm out.
Yeah.
It must be genetics. No, the fuck it's not. It's your work ethic. It's your drive. So I wish that people were trying to instill that mindset into people, is just a relentless behavior. Nothing is going to come easy. Like everyone looks at any self-made man like, man, I don't know what they did, but they must have been lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky for busting their ass for 15 years? Is that what it is? You see the end product. You don't see everything that happened beforehand.
Yeah.
And the why aspect that you were getting at, the whole what's your why? After the incident with me and police, you know, you sit down and you're like, what do I love to do? Like, what is it that drives me? It's fitness and dogs. You know, if I could just work with dogs the rest of my life, training dogs, I'd be happy doing that. A lot of people are going to play devil's advocate, like, well, you can't make money in training dogs. No, you can. There's anything that you do, you can make money.
Yeah.
And working for yourself and doing what you love, I mean, it's unexplainable. Like, we get to travel for our job right now. Every weekend, people are like, y'all are gone every weekend traveling different competitions all up and down the East Coast. Yeah, I was in Miami for a week for Wadapalooza. That was an incredible time. Sure, I was down there working, if you want to call it working, but it was doing something that I love.
What was so exciting about Miami? And
you guys dominated down there. By the way.
And that was a huge leap of faith too. It's like, hey, we're gonna throw a lot of money at Wadapalooza to go down there and pray that we do well. Because if not, this is the end of the company. But you get to
all right, back me up. Say that again.
So
if you plan to do that,
and
if it didn't go well,
Sorry.
It would do what to the company?
I would be working law enforcement probably the next 15 years.
That's balls, man.
Yeah, it's.
But that's the mentality that makes you successful.
I think I'm wired a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Being the ADHD playing into it, always wanting to look for the new and the great, and just, hey, what's going on here? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Keeping my attention. I think chasing adrenaline is kind of what keeps my attention. And my two best friends growing up, known them for going on 30 years now. They'll tell you I'm persistent. If you tell me I'm not going to do something, I will go out of my way to do it just to prove you wrong, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And I'll try and persuade you to do it with me. Like, I'm good. I'm still going to do it. So I think that has played a lot into it. I like to take risks, and I like to gamble.
On one of the first podcasts that Blake and I did together, you know, we're both from the similar fraternity in the Marine Corps. And I was sharing with him about my gunny years ago. His name was Gunnery Sergeant Hall. He's passed away, so God bless him and his family. But he said something to me a long time ago. It was really impactful, and it has stuck with me. He said, Porter, all you have to do in life is be smart enough to listen.
Yeah.
But actually dumb enough to go do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is what most people look at it and go, oh, Kellen, that was a really dumb thing to do. But you had to listen to that internal voice to say, hey, you need to go do this because you need to get your face out into the community that you're bringing your product to.
Well, I think a lot of people, when I first told them, hey, I'm starting a clothing company, people were like, cool, man. And they just wrote it off. They're like, this guy's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't need to tell you I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Like, I don't need to explain to you why, how, or anything like that. And then it started growing. People were like, wow, you were serious about doing this. Like, yeah, told you I was going to do it. But because I wasn't sitting there promoting.
It's almost like this cautiously reckless mentality.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, right? Cautiously reckless? What do you mean?
I mean, like you've heard the quote, like, build in silence.
Yeah.
Don't let people know what you're doing. And that's when you become the most dangerous. You know, you'll see the people all the time, new year, new me, or new workout today, and it's the same people that are posting this crap, and you'll see them for about a week, and then they just fall the hell off. It's like, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Show people. When I don't see you for 2 or 3 months, and I see you've lost weight or you've, put on muscle or whatever it is, like, wow, I'm more impacted by that than seeing your Facebook post, hit 225 on bench today. Well, I'm not going to see another post like that for another 4 months because you're just going to drop off the face of the earth. Like, it goes back to don't tell me, show me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with the company is I was like, okay, I told you guys this is my idea. I'm going to run with it. Let's go.
How'd you come up with that name?
WildSouth. So I'm from Georgia originally. My mom, my sister still live in Richmond.
With your accent, I thought it was New York for sure.
So Georgia, extended family still lives down there. So that's where the South comes from. The Wild just comes from stuff I've seen in my career, just life, just all the Wild taking the risks. That's where it comes from. And we want to promote people, go out, chase your dreams. People are so miserable doing everything they do every day. And it's like, why do you do it? Well, I have bills to pay. That's not a good enough answer.
Yeah.
People complain about being a cop all the time. Leave. I can't. Why? Well, I'm 40 years old. And
That's fear.
it's a sad excuse. And people get so comfortable. Look at relationships. People have been with each other for, 6-7 years. It's a toxic relationship, but they're comfortable being in it, and they're too scared to break it off. And people starting businesses, their egos get in the way. You're sitting there, and people are winning and winning and winning, and Instagram and Facebook has single-handedly ruined society. You go on there and you see the perfect worlds that all these people aren't really living in. They're posting the best pictures. They're posting all the money that they're not making. They're posting this flashy stuff. No one's posting the real truth out there. There's a few accounts out there that are, but people will sit there and they'll scroll for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
iPhone now tells you, hey, you spent this amount of time on your phone on average last week. And you're sitting like, holy shit, I spent 7 hours a day looking at my phone. That's a lot of time. I could have done a lot of work. It's like, thanks iPhone for telling me that, You're trying to beat me down. But misery loves company.
Yeah.
And there's that one saying about crabs in a bucket. You put a bunch of crabs in a bucket. One tries to crawl out. What do the other ones do?
Pulling them down.
They pull them right back down
Yeah.
because they're scared of watching that guy go and be successful, but they don't have the balls to go do it themselves. And you got to get over that fact. I love failing, and I don't ask questions a lot. I ask certain questions about certain things in business, but there's a lot that I won't because I want to go out there knowing that I'm going to fail because that's how I learn. I didn't learn shit about business in college. I didn't learn shit about business in policing. I don't know anything about business, and here I am starting a company.
How is this progression taking place? And one of the things Blake was asking off camera was, if you don't mind sharing numbers, if you don't want to share specific numbers, it's okay. But you've been in business how long now?
So we just hit our 1 year mark. We launched January 1st of 2021, so just over a year.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we got to have him back in 3 years, 5 years, and look at these numbers to be your accountability partner, right? Tell me about day one, month one.
So
what did you do day one?
We did a lot of build up.
You gave me a free pair of shorts?
Yeah. I went in this for all the build up we did. I don't want to call it reckless going into it, but I set my standards. I was like, we're going to do awesome. Like you talk about Nick Baer. He was expecting to do $1 million his first year in business. I don't know if you've read his book, but it is a great one to read.
Tell us about him real quick.
So Nick Baer, he owns BPN Supplements.
Okay.
Prior Army guy. Got out, started BPN Supplements, actually while he was in the Army, but did like $5,000 his first year, maybe $50,000 3 years in. It just wasn't working for him. And now it's a multi-million-dollar company, awesome company, but his book is called 25 Hours a Day. It's a great read for anyone looking to get into the entrepreneurial.
He's good for mindset.
Dude, his mindset. And his own accountant told him, shut it down, dude, you're done.
Yeah.
And Nick was like, fuck off, we're not done. And then he took it from $50,000, I think, to around $500,000 in 1 year. But he was posting content. This goes back to your ego thing, and put your fucking ego aside. He started posting content on YouTube. First video he put up, people gave him so much hate, he took it down. Put another video up, got a lot more hate, he took it down. Third video he put up, got a lot of hate, and he's like, fuck off, left it up. And now people will watch his YouTube. His YouTube's huge, his Instagram's huge. People just love watching his daily life because he's got that go one more. That's their slogan. That's just the attitude behind it. And you got to stop giving a shit what people think about you.
That's that mentality David Goggins has out there. And a lot of people love to hate David Goggins. You guys know David Goggins, right? So he just posted that last Instagram post last week, I think it was, talking about he hurt himself running, and he had to take some time off from running, but he worked on other parts of his body. And if you can imagine David Goggins saying, I was working on my mental toughness while I couldn't run. Yeah. And he started having people tell him on his Instagram that he never looked at before, that he started looking at all of his haters' comments because he needed something to drive him harder. And if you can imagine. And so he's got this post he's running, he's talking about, he goes, thank you to all my haters. He goes, he goes, where some people will play music to sleep at night, I play your comments that I've read to myself in my recorder.
Dude, that is savage. It is absolutely. And because when's the last time someone got mad at a loser?
Right.
Nobody gets mad at a loser. People get mad at winners.
That's good, man.
I mean, it's people love to hate. Misery loves company. And the only reason these people are hating is because they have a bad home life. They've got a bad work life. They're just miserable. The whole Sunday scaries thing that people get, I get it. I've gotten them before. Why are you scared? Because you got to go back to a job the next day that you absolutely hate. Like, I love going and working every day. So I'll get off of work. And my second job, the company I started, that's when I'm starting that. Love doing it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what drives me.
Yeah.
And you got to find that motivation's not going to take you but so far. You know, you can watch a Jocko podcast. You can listen to David Goggins. You can listen to any one of these big TD Jakes, you know, Les Brown, all these motivational speakers. They're going to get you in the gym.
Yeah.
But you got to keep you in the gym.
Right.
Because that motivation is going to fizzle out.
That's a good message.
So
discipline.
Yeah.
that drive.
DISCIPLINE, sir. Discipline.
Yeah.
You know that if that drive and that dedication of you setting the goal of this is what I want and this is what it's going to take to get it. Because trust me, there are days we'll get orders that come in and I'll get off of work and I don't want to go fill the order. You know, I want to sit on the couch, but it's like, look, you just have to do it. You have to pick yourself up and do it. And it's.
So when we want to drive in on this, we got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
But so that day 1, day
That's why
30.
we didn't get to that. Yeah, so we did.
I got you.
So the first month, I think we did $6,000, which is huge for no one's ever heard. We didn't do any Instagram marketing. We didn't do any Facebook marketing, Google Ads, SEO. Did none of that.
You had good-looking Blake over here.
This
in a pair of
was
shorts,
we got
right? That's
we.
what it was.
You got some good models. You didn't use me.
So
You need to.
we had a really good community around here. We had a lot of support. I had a lot of friends that were pushing it for us. Being in the police, that's a big community. Jim being in the military, that's another big community.
Yeah.
Being in the canine community down here, Spike's Canine Fund.
Shout out to Spikes.
Yeah, shout out to Spike's, the nonprofit. If you guys don't know or what they do, go check out Spike's Canine
And you've
Fund.
got them on your website, I noticed.
Yeah,
too.
so we donate a portion of every sale goes to these working dogs to get them ballistic
Beautiful.
vests. So definitely go check them out. But so we did $6,000, I believe, our first month. So we're riding high. We're like, wow, because we didn't set a goal for ourselves. We didn't really know what to expect. We're like, let's just do it and see what happens. Because I didn't have any overhead going in this company. I worked after I got out of debt, worked a bunch of part-time, saved up around $30,000 of that and dumped that into the company. So if we failed, it is what it is. Did $6,000. February, we did $2,000. And it's like, there's that high and right back down. And it's like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, I totally bombed this. Like, we were just riding that high. You're riding the wave of success, and then it goes down. Found a way to make it work. We ended up hitting 6 figures in our first year of sales, which blew both of our minds because we did no marketing. That was all organic, just word of mouth.
So that's amazing. I applaud you for that. How do you scale that now? So, you know, and I don't want to get into, you know, your suppliers or anything like that today. Maybe later we can, to the extent you want to share that. But you know, the Nikes, the Under Armours, the Vioris, all these brands out there that, you know, they have mass ability to, you know, bring product to market and have the inventory to support it. That's a pretty big ask of you right now. So as your growth happens, what do you plan to do? You know, because you're going to do this show today and thousands of people, well, maybe 10 people.
Learn and fail.
Yeah.
Fail.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way we've gotten to where we are now is by failing. And that's another thing, piggybacking on the ego thing. People are so scared to fail because they might be this superstar that people think that they are. And then when they fail, people are like, wow, you're actually human. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Are you doing your own fulfillment?
We do everything.
Really?
Literally everything.
It's impressive.
So we don't have any employees. It's just me and Jen. If you had asked me a year ago, where do you see yourself a year with this company?
Online sales or trade shows? Where's
Both.
yourself? Both.
Both. So me and Jen
Percentage.
travel every weekend. Percentage, I'd probably say 70-30, only because we travel
70 being
70 in person, 30 online.
Okay.
Because we travel every single weekend. This weekend I've got a local competition.
So if you're at a trade show, you're fulfilling orders. If you get an online order,
yes,
you're
it's not going to fill till we get back.
Okay.
So when we were at Wadapalooza for a week in Miami, I put up a little notification. Hey, look, if you make an order between this time and this time, it'll get fulfilled, but not until I think like January 18th is when we got back.
And are your customers understanding of that, or
Yeah.
are they like,
Oh, yeah,
no,
absolutely.
I want it now,
Because
Kellen?
our stuff gets fulfilled and it gets shipped super quick.
Okay.
So people actually have said, "Wow, it got to me way faster than what I was expecting." And being very transparent. We've had people that have said, "Hey, I haven't received my order," and I'll go back and look at it. Somehow it slipped through the cracks. I'm not going to sit there and make up an excuse as to why it didn't get filled. Like, hey, it just wasn't fulfilled yet. I'll refund them probably, and then give them a 25% off code to come back next time. It's all about your customers.
awesome.
You
Yeah.
have to put customers first. I don't care if they're right, wrong, indifferent. Your customers are going to be the word of mouth.
Yeah.
You can leave reviews. You can do as much Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing. Word of mouth is going to take you to the next level.
Have you run into that yet? On in the retail industry, returns or shrinkage can be a big issue. So, have you run into any product issues, quality with your manufacturers?
Yeah, there was one. So I've got probably about 300 pairs of shorts sitting in my house right now that I'm never going to sell. We're probably going to give them to a Boys and Girls Club because I don't like the way they fit. And that was an error on my part when I got the sample. So we're all cut and sew. We actually designed the stuff. Sample gets shipped to us. If I don't like it, I'll send it back. We go back and forth. I didn't take a good look at the pair of shorts that I had sampled to me. I was busy. Bulk order them. Got 300 pairs. Brought them in. Don't like the way they fit. People are like, well, just put it on your website, buy 2 pairs of shorts, get this pair for free. Not doing that. Being a new company, if people get this pair of shorts and they suck, you're not going to buy from me again. Even if they were free, they still fit shitty. Or they fit shitty. You don't like the quality of them. They might rip. We did have another issue with a pair of shorts that ripped in the inseam. Not everyone's have ripped, but the ones that have, I'll refund them, send them a new pair, and then offer to send them a new pair once the problem is fixed as well.
Any kind of guarantees or quality offer you offer to your customer?
No, but if they just reach out to us, we're more than happy to refund you on something. Because we're such a new company, I'll tell people, put these things through the ringer. Like, I want you to pressure test them as much as you can because we need to know this to grow, and y'all need to be up and forward and honest with us so that we can make the clothes better for you guys.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So 1 year, you mind sharing your sales numbers? Where you hit year one?
Year one, I think it was 116, 117.
And that's awesome. You're rolling into year two now. What's your trajectory? What do you think you're going to do? What's your belief system?
Where we're sitting right now, I think we'll be, if we were between 200% and 400% increase.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Or what do you think will drive that? You're doing more shows,
I
more
think
people are exposed to the brand. What
It's getting the
drives
name
that?
out there. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. They think they're going to come up with this awesome idea and start a brand, whatever the product is, and just put it out there on Instagram and Facebook and just let it go. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get out there and you got to get your hands dirty. People are shocked when me and Jen are at a show and people come up to us and they're talking. They find out that we're the owners. They're like, wow, like we didn't expect that. We just thought that you guys were 2 employees for WildSouth. It's like, no, you're looking at the 2 employees of this. That's it. So going out there, getting dirty, spreading the name, I think that's how we spread so well. It's because every weekend between here and Florida, we were gone somewhere. I'll be going to Frederick, Maryland here shortly. We're going to the CrossFit Games this year, which is up in Madison, Wisconsin.
Nice.
And that came with a hefty price tag. And most people would be like, I'm not even touching that. So you're talking about Wadapalooza, putting all that money in there. You could either get a 10 by 10 booth or a 10 by 20 booth. And my mentality, which probably isn't a lot of people's, it was the difference of a 10 by 10 was $5,000. A 10 by 20 was $11,000.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck it. If I'm going down there, I'm getting seen.
Yeah.
So we're spending the $11,000 that we don't have.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, we could have been taking that because we ordered a bunch of clothes. We went down there with a massive 10 by 20 rig. And it's just, you have huge names there. You had No Bull was there. Wit was there. Born Primitive was there. Tier was there. Tupood. You had all these huge names in the CrossFit industry there. And we're this drop in a bucket that no one has ever heard of.
Yeah. So year one, were you profitable?
No, absolutely not.
How bad?
I actually haven't crunched those numbers yet. I'm getting up with an accountant to do that, just because between police, fulfillment, designing clothes, we just did open up a retail store out in Chesapeake. So getting that up and running, just wearing all these hats, it's just super hard to do everything. And not having any kind of accounting background, finance background, I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
So I'm getting up with our tax guy, and he's going to be the one to run those numbers on it. But I would say, we're probably around 60 grand in debt right now.
Okay. And thinking about that moving forward into 2022, if you're going to grow by 200 to 400%, what do you think is going to happen to that investment capital? Do you see that going from 60 to 120? Where are you prepared to go
The debt?
to? Yeah.
I'm not trying to go to any more. I didn't even want to take on this little bit of debt first, but I don't want to call it good debt.
Dave Ramsey.
Because that's the only thing I don't agree with on Dave's whole program is the whole taking loans out and stuff.
Yeah.
A whole nother animal. But I think where we're sitting right now, we're not going to have to take out another loan. I think by us dumping 100% back into the company, both of us working full time and not taking a paycheck, if anyone's wanting to start a business, you got to be strict and not pay yourself and put everything that you possibly can back into this company. Otherwise, you're not going to grow, because that little bit that you first get, you're like, I'll pay myself $1,000. $1,000 could have been spent towards marketing, could have been spent towards product, could have been spent towards something else.
Yeah.
So you have to invest in your own company in order for you to see the growth, and people get excited and pull from it, and you end up tanking.
Yeah, folks don't realize, like even with Jeff Bezos, who's now arguably the richest man in the world, that he spent 2 years, he and his prior wife, spent 2 years in a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, plugging away at this thing we call Amazon now. Then it was called the Amazon.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that he didn't know whether he was going to make it or not. He left an opportunity. Smart guy, had programming background, but he left a really plush, nice job to set in a little bedroom because he believed that selling books online, and primarily like first edition books, was going to be something really cool. He had a vision.
People, like 80% of America is unhappy with the job that they work.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind why people will continue doing something over and over and over if you hate it that much. Go out and do what you love. Finger paint. If you love finger painting, I promise you can find a way to make money on
That's
that.
good therapy,
People
man.
will look at that as art. You can put it on eBay, you put it on Etsy, you put it on whatever. Someone's going to buy it, I promise you.
Yeah.
They will. And there was another cop. Give this guy a shout out, K9aholics.
Okay.
He recently left Norfolk PD. He wanted to train dogs. People are like, you're never going to make money training dogs, man. He's got like 4 or 5 employees that work for him now. He left just as a single dude, train dogs. He paid money to go down to North Carolina, get certifications, came back, and now he's got like 4 or 5 trainers under him, and he's doing it.
Wow.
And that's the kind of success that I want to see from people, going in to work every day and just listen to how miserable people are. It's like, guys, life is not that bad. Go out and work the street. Life is not bad.
Yeah.
You're the one controlling where you're going with your life, so why the hell are you sitting here being fucking miserable?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your sad excuse of, well, there's nothing that I can do. That's up to you what you want to do.
Right.
That's your sad excuse. And the hard work, the way that I look at that is it's kind of like a plant. Like you go and plant a little seed. We'll call it a tomato seed, whatever. So you plant that down in the dirt. Cool. That's your business. That's what you're planting.
Yeah.
Now you're still in that little hard shell casing. So first you got to bust out of that. As soon as you plant that seed, here's my business. Here's your first problem. That first problem is the dirt. It's getting piled on top of you. How do I overcome that? That's where you're going to fail. That's where you're going to learn. That's what's going to make you better. So eventually you're going to break out of that seed. You're going to go up, might see some sunlight. Here comes the watering for that day.
Wow.
It just weighs that dirt back down on that seed. And you're like, fuck, I thought I just saw the light. You did. But now you got more problems coming down, whether it's something with fulfillment, whether it's something with taxes, whatever.
Yep.
So now you got to try harder and figure out how to do that. But through those steps, that's where you're learning everything.
It's funny you bring that analogy up. I've used that with business owners a lot and talking to them about, in business strategy. Everyone understands you got to start somewhere. You've got a $60,000 seed right now.
Yeah.
Right? It's planted. the tough thing with that for most people is that when you start a business, the root system has to grow first. So that seedling germinates, right, to your point.
Yeah.
And the root system has to go deep and wide to support what's going to come up,
Yep.
right? So the problem most people have is they want to go seed to harvest.
Got to cultivate.
Yeah.
You got to cultivate.
And
been a
that's
couple
where
of books we read
that's
in
like where the
is.
diet. A week on a diet, they fall off.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to take the time.
Yeah.
And we came out with a sticker that says "Nobody owes you shit," and it was a sticker that I made. And I was like, you know what? It's gonna probably. We have that one. And we have a dare sticker, and it says "Dare to hurt, dare to resist handouts and hurt feelings." And then "Nobody owes you shit." Those two stickers. I made them. Probably gonna piss some people off, but you know what? That's my viewpoint. I fully support that. Nobody owes you a fucking thing. So that sticker is our number one seller.
Yeah.
Sold so well. That sticker we turned it into a flag. Flag sold so well. Turned into a patch. Patch sold so well. We got T-shirts coming. People are like, we want this T-shirt. And I was like, my mom was even like, Kellen, you can't say that. You know, like that's and
She's probably listening
Jesus,
right now.
Jesus
She's
Christ,
like,
mom.
Kellen has cursed 7 times.
My mom took it the wrong way, and she was, what do you mean by it? I was like, it's the people looking for a handout. The people out there like, you owe me something. I went to college. You owe me a job.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I just finished my season. We didn't come in first place, but where's my trophy?
Right.
You don't get one. Like, work harder. And so
Yeah.
the nobody owes you shit. Our society is just so soft nowadays.
Yeah.
People are out there looking for a handout. And that's why people say when they see someone successful, well, they were lucky.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't work hard. No,
Yeah.
yes, they did. This wasn't handed to them. I promise you.
I gave Blake a book that he just finished reading. If you want to give a little
Yeah.
shout out, share that.
I actually did it on the last show. It was
Did
good.
I missed it. I wasn't
You
here.
did.
So
You have to watch my
got my
podcast. Look, hey, so from that book, the biggest quote I think is going to sum up what you're saying is if you want to succeed, you got to double your rate of failure. Straight up. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
People are not going after the dreams. They're not doing anything. And what it comes down to, in my opinion, is fear. And if we think
absolutely
about
is.
it, like fear is not real.
Yeah.
And I did not make this up, but I'm going to quote somebody. I'm not going to give them any credit here, but I'm just going to quote them. So fear is self-imposed, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that fear is the person you want to be.
Yeah.
So just remember, like you're setting your own barriers and you're setting up your
Yeah.
own roadblocks.
You are
Yeah.
your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
And my dad always told me the only person who can stop you from doing anything is yourself.
yeah.
It really is. There is nobody out there who can stop you from doing anything. Looking back, I'm crazy for starting a clothing brand.
Yeah.
Look at how many are out there. You know, the failure rate on that is so astronomical. But I didn't even think about that. I had a vision. I was like, I want to do this. I want to take it to the next level, and let's do it. The minute you start playing devil's advocate with yourself, what happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? And then people are going to be like, you know what? I'm not doing it. I'm not. And then they talk themselves out of their own idea.
Yeah.
You know, Les Brown, he says, the wealthiest place in the world is a graveyard.
Yeah.
You know, look at all the dreams and ideas that died because people were too scared to go out and take it.
Wow.
The amount of inventions or products or companies that could have been built, but people didn't want to take that leap. You have to. Like, have I thought about what happens if we fail? No. I'll go about that when it comes. Because when you want something bad enough, when failure's knocking at your door, you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage or food. You're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
You're going to work harder. You're going to find a way to make a sale. You're going to find a way to get out of whatever rut that you're in, and it will happen. It's just a lot of people don't think about it like that. They're not put in the fight or flight. Can't think of environment
Yeah.
until
I'm
they're
tracking
face
with
to
you.
face
Yeah.
with it, and then when they are, now it's like shit. What do I do?
Right.
How am I going to get out of this situation?
Right. And, you know, Blake has brought this up to me a few times that has really impacted me. It's getting good with being uncomfortable. And in order to do that, sometimes you just got to purposely put yourself in uncomfortable positions. And it doesn't have to mean that you're putting yourself in a position just to radically fail.
Yeah.
But one of the things he's helped me with is rucking. And I was like, man, I was a Marine 10 years. The last thing I want to do is put a pack on my back. But I have understood here now at 52, I need to also embrace getting good with being uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
because that actually makes me stronger. Once I've understood what it's like, I like to reference that picture up on the wall. It's right behind you. Success. And success at the top of this iceberg. What you don't see, what your friends don't see, is that root system, is that berg below. That's what's below is what sunk the Titanic. That's the hard work, the persistence, the late nights, rejection, sacrifices, discipline, criticism, doubts, failure, the risk. And those are all those things that you got to get comfortable with, Gwen. If anybody told you in order to get to the top of that, those are the paths you got to go through.
Well, I think that's where social media has ruined every single one of those.
Yeah.
You log on to social media,
I agree.
You're seeing the end product. You're not seeing the failure.
Right.
No one's going to post about their failures.
Yeah.
The late nights, no one's going to post a picture of them. We live
that'd be cool.
We live in
cool
such
for
a
you to
fantasy
just
world.
Maybe turn your camera on one day and show what it's like being inside your house with all the crap around. I can only imagine, like, when you get orders.
I mean, I thought about doing that just because.
Here's the real deal, fellas.
I promise you, when we make it big, people aren't going to believe, that I worked 8 hours a day as a cop, then worked part-time, then came home and started the business from the ground up. People are going to look at me and be like, oh, man, must be nice. You have a business career or something? No.
Yeah.
There's so much wealth out there nowadays on how to start stuff. If you don't go out and start whatever it is that you want to do, I don't want to say you're an idiot, but you're wasting your life doing something that you don't love. And I don't want people to take that the wrong way. If you honestly love crunching numbers, like if that is your thing, I mean, that is the cat's pajamas to you. Like, you love going into work every day, being like, I can't wait to crunch these numbers, and you're financially sound.
Yeah.
You don't care about making a lot of money. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just want to see people happy doing what they love, because I think that would make just the all-around society a better and happier place. Everyone's so miserable. Everyone in America hates each other right now. It's left versus right. It's black versus. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah. It's just
The color black.
Yeah. I mean, you see, I'm getting worked up. It just frustrates me how everyone is always at each other's throats, and I think a lot of that comes deep down from their unhappy life.
Yeah.
It starts with work, which spills over into their relationship, which then spills over to society and how they interact. People love spending hours on Facebook arguing with someone across the country that they have no idea who they are.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just wasted 2 hours of your life arguing with Ben in California because, they just passed some new law that says that this guy or this girl can do whatever. Who cares?
Right.
How the fuck does that affect you?
Yeah.
Focus on you. Focus on bettering yourself. And that kind of goes into getting your circle small. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Like Blake, I was in a rut. I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago when he hit me up to talk about this podcast. He hit me up real quick. Hey, do you want to be on this podcast? Dude, we stayed on the phone for like 45 minutes.
Wow. And
just that little motivation talking, we'll play off of one another. And it's like, dude, I'm ready to go. Like, I went in, I got in the gym, came out, started doing more business stuff, And when you got people like that around you, it's just going to better yourself. Or you can be around people who just bitch and complain about everything. And you're going to be sucked down into that hole, and you're just going to stay there.
There's something powerful about stepping outside of yourself. And when you're in a rut, here's a suggestion for you, is find someone that you can encourage.
Yeah.
So when you're in a bad spot, go find someone else that you can encourage, because what ends up happening is you get that inside voice outside. And you go, well, man, if that's true for them, that must be true for me.
Yeah.
And it's really Blake and I have talked about this in the law of attraction. The reason, we're all here today is because we allow the law of attraction, and that's not some sexual thing, not the cutie Blake over here, but the energy between us two of having shared with each other like-minded thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah.
And we're not getting in our own, the word out there today is the echo chamber. It's not like, oh, I'm patting you on the back, you're patting me. No, he's encouraging me to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we're encouraging each other to stretch ourselves beyond what we believe we can be today. And, dude, I really appreciate you sharing with us today. I mean, it's to get on a show and talk about your your business in its infancy, and to share the struggles and that the struggle's real. I think what most people are going to pull from this podcast, in my opinion, is that just got to go do it.
Yep.
You just got to go give it a shot.
Starting that, so we actually made an Instagram post this morning. We'll occasionally throw up a quote or something, but today I just put "just start." That's all it says. And in the caption, I think it was, if you're waiting for the perfect time, it's not coming.
Yeah.
It's not next week. It's not next month. It's not next year. It says get uncomfortable and just start. It's real weird that you're saying that. You know, the hardest thing in anything is starting.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to climb the entire staircase today. Just take that first step.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. It really is. But you'll be surprised at how much you grow and how much you learn from that one uncomfortable. I try to do at least one uncomfortable thing a day, whether that's calling someone that I really don't want to call and asking, you know, hey, I'm WildSouth. We just started our custom apparel line, you know, calling CrossFit gyms. It's kind of uncomfortable talking to someone like that, or, you know, learning a new skill from YouTube. It's uncomfortable, but you have to do it to grow.
I'll share my ruck experience with you guys, and I didn't tell you this. So, you know, the male in me didn't want to admit failure or that I was considering it. But when we went on this ruck with him and another buddy of you guys, you know, I had a 30-some pound pack. He had a 52-pound pack. And I'm like, that motherfucker out here going to show me up, 30, what are you, 30 whatever years old?
Yeah, 33.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep up with him. I'm not going to let him beat me. The first 10 steps they took off in this ruck, I was like, oh, my God. What did I just get myself into?
Screwed.
I'm screwed. And, man, I got to tell you, at first it was discouraging. I watched he and his buddy just pull away from me like two freaking panthers.
Yeah.
And my little stubby legs, I'm like, man, I should be able to keep up with them. What is going on here? And I wasn't out of breath. I wasn't feeling physically exerted. I just couldn't keep up with him. And I went, this isn't about him.
It's you versus you.
Yeah. And so I said, he's running his journey, and he's doing it at a pace that's competitive for him. I had to get in a point mentally because I almost went, you know what, today is just not my day. I need to work up to this. And I'm like, no, you can't fucking do that.
Stop.
You're going to fail forward. And so what I did, I got in my mind, and I think I shared this with you. In my mind, I was like, well, I'm going to try this out to mile 3. I'm just going to try to get to mile 3. And they had the little placards out there in Seashore State Park. And just see how I do. I got to mile 3, and I'm stepping it out for me. And I went, oh, Kenny, you feel fine. Go for it. Go finish. Yeah. And I get out to the mile marker where they're coming back from the 3.5 mile mark.
Yeah, something like that.
And it actually, my encouragement came back up because I knew their turnaround point wasn't that far ahead of me. But the journey that they were on wasn't my journey. And I think that's what, as business people, they can get encouragement from your journey and get, you know what? He tried it. I can give it a shot.
And that's what I want to
Yeah.
instill people. I'm more than willing to help you. Now, I'm not going to sit here and give you my full blueprint because I'm all about failing. You need to go out there and learn for yourself.
Yeah, your failure is not my failure.
I can sit here and tell you how to do things all day long. And you might have great success for the first 6 months, but then when shit hits the fan, what are you going to do? You're not going to know how to overcome that because someone was spoon feeding you the entire time. So I'm all about helping someone, but you have to go out there and actually do it yourself. You're talking about them. Don't measure your success with someone else's ruler.
That's good.
I mean, Blake's been rucking for a long time, you know?
Yeah, he didn't tell me all that.
Yeah. You know, so and people, that's another thing with people. They compare themselves all the time
Comparison
to so many
game,
different people, and you're killing yourself. Stop comparing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for this company, I probably wouldn't have social media. It's only negative stuff out there. You never really go on there and see anything good anymore. Yeah. It's all about politics or wars or whatever. So I'm forced to have it, unfortunately, because of the business, and that's
Well,
just
maybe you can make change.
that's the way. Hey, maybe that'll be my next business idea.
Yeah. But let's put some positivity back in the universe.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but it's not it's not handing a trophy out to everybody.
No.
Because that day when I finished my ruck, I didn't feel like I got a trophy.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, I've really got to up my game if I want to compete at his level. I've got to do more in order to get there, but it's motivation.
But that's that positive motivation that you
Yeah.
need. You know,
Yeah.
it's surround yourself with people who are going to push you to be better.
That's great. Man, we went way over. My clock went off probably 10 minutes ago, but that's how good today's conversation was.
I mean, I feel like we could
We can
Oh,
talk.
do
We
another.
go- we
We'll
go through that.
do another one and dive more into the inner
Yeah.
workings of actual building.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get down. We'll have a conversation
Yeah.
after this, folks. This is us, being transparent with you. We'll have a conversation about the business side and what can we get you back on the show to share
Yeah.
more information about everything from going and getting a business license to hiring an
Yeah.
accountant to getting the right suppliers, the right manufacturers
Yep.
who have a taste of the vision of where you want to go.
Yeah.
And how you lead as a CEO, how you lead as a business owner to get people from where they are to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Kellen, thank you so much for sharing today.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go check out wildsouth.com.
WildSouth Apparel.
WildSouth Apparel.
Yep.
Make sure you put the apparel in.
Yeah. And if you're local to the Hampton Roads area, we did just have a store open out in Chesapeake. So
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go either searches online, go on Instagram, Facebook, we have the address attached there.
Very cool. WildSouthApparel.com and look them up on Instagram. Give them a shout, give them a like, and Blake, aren't they supposed to? What are they supposed to do
Yeah,
with our show?
absolutely. Hey, we'll drop all the links below. You guys will be able to see for Wild South how to get to his website. We'll put the address for the business up there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want, we'll probably tag your social medias as well.
Sounds good.
But in the meantime, for more videos like this, guys, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit the like button.
That's awesome. Thank you, man. See you,
Yeah,
Kellen.
Thank you, guys.